Get ready for some excellent insights into Tesla's Optimus humanoid robot, a product that, at scale, could meaningfully grow the global economy, as well as facilitating the build-out of a base on the moon, Mars, and beyond.
There are really only three hard things for humanoid robots. The real-world intelligence, the hand, and scale manufacturing.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen any, even demo robots that have a great hand, like with all the degrees of freedom of a human hand. But Optimus will have that. Optimus does have that.
And how do you achieve that? Is it just like right torque density in the motor? Like what is the hardware bottleneck to that?
Well, we had to design custom actuators, basically custom designed motors, gears, power electronics, controls, sensors. Everything had to be designed from physics first principles. There is no supply chain for this.
And will you be able to manufacture those at scale?
Yes.
Is anything hard except the hand from a manipulation point of view, or once you've solved the hand, are you good?
From an electromechanical standpoint, the hand is more difficult than everything else combined.
This is why I've continually emphasized to Tesla investors, this is the thing to pay attention to with Tesla's progress on the Optimus humanoid robot. The hand. Oh, your robot can do a backflip? Cool story, bro. Can it peel a boiled egg? Your robot can jog? Cool story, bro. Can it thread a needle? What's really important to underscore here is that the hand needs to have extreme dexterity, finesse, a fine touch, and most important of all, be generalized. If the Optimus humanoid robot, or any humanoid robot for that matter, doesn't have a hand with extreme levels of dexterity, finesse, a fine touch, and most important, generalized abilities, if it could do one or two very delicate tasks, but is completely useless on just about every other task, it's no good. If it can't use a hammer, a screwdriver, peel a carrot, repair or even build a watch, perform surgery, if it can't do all of these things extremely well because it has a generalized hand, it's going to be absolutely useless if there's a single humanoid robot out there that has nailed the hand design. And Musk pointed out there is no supply chain. Tesla's had to design and develop from the atoms up everything in the Optimus's hand. He's also unaware of any other company even close.
Yeah, human hand turns out to be quite something. But then you also need the real world intelligence. So the intelligence that Tesla has developed for the car applies very well to the robot, which is primarily vision in. But the car takes in more vision, but also it is listening for sirens. It's it's taking in the inertial measurements. It's GPS signals, a whole bunch of other data. Combining that with video, it's primarily video, and then outputting the control commands. So like your Tesla is taking in 1.5 gigabytes a second of video and outputting 2 kilobytes a second of control outputs with the video at 36 hertz and the control frequency at 18.
One intuition you could have for when we get this robotic stuff is that it takes quite a few years to go from the compelling demo to actually being able to use it in the real world. So 10 years ago, you had really compelling demos of self-driving, but only now we have Robotaxi and Waymo and all these services scaling up. Shouldn't this make one pessimistic on, say, household robots? Because we don't even quite have the compelling demos yet of, say, the really advanced hand.
Well, we've been working on humanoid robots now for a while. So I guess it's been 5 or 6 years or something like that.
A few years longer than we've publicly known about this. Obviously, you don't unveil this the day you decide, we should make a humanoid robot. Let's unveil it to the world right now. One thing I do want to add, which I've mentioned in the past, but it does bear repeating. In addition to what Musk previously mentioned, they've basically built the visual cortex and some of the other sensory abilities of the brain via FSD in their Tesla vehicles, transplanted that into the Optimus humanoid robot, giving them a huge, pun intended, head start. But the stakes are much lower for deploying Optimus humanoid robots in the real world to gain additional training data, doing real tasks in the real world. You make a mistake with a self-driving vehicle, you can kill people. You can also severely injure, permanently disable. So you have to tune the software to be hyper cautious, which somewhat constrains its ability to learn. Whereas the Optimus humanoid robot, typically the stakes are going to be much lower. It might slow productivity and be annoying, get in the way, spill something, slow or stop a production line, but it's far less likely to result in deaths, injuries, permanent disabilities. So Tesla can train a little bit more aggressively with the Optimus humanoid robot. And the third factor is the significant improvements in AI training hardware, algorithms, the entire industry right now is surging. Think about all the AI breakthroughs that have happened over the last few years. My point, expect Optimus to progress at a much faster rate than we saw Tesla FSD over the last decade.
And a bunch of the things that we've done for the car are applicable to the robot. So we'll use the same Tesla AI chips in the robot as the car. We'll use the same basic principles. It's very much the same AI. You've got many more degrees of freedom for a robot than you do for a car. But really, if you just think of it as like a bit stream, AI is really mostly compression and correlation of two bit streams. So for video, you've got to do a tremendous amount of compression, and you got to do the compression just right. You've got to compress ignore the things that don't matter, and you don't care about the details of the leaves on the tree on the side of the road, but you care a lot about the road signs and the traffic lights and the pedestrians, and even whether someone in another car is looking at you or not looking at you. Like some of these details matter a lot. So, but it is essentially it's got to turn that the car has got to turn that 1.5 gigabytes a second ultimately into 2 kilobytes a second of control outputs. So many stages of compression. And you got to get all those stages right and then correlate those to the correct control outputs. The robot has to do essentially the same thing. And you think about what humans, this is what happens with humans. We really are photons in, controls out. So that is the vast majority of your life has been vision, photons in, and then motor controls out.
Naively, it seems like between humanoid robots and cars, the fundamental actuators in a car are like how you turn, how you accelerate, etc. Where in a robot, especially with maneuverable arms, there's dozens and dozens of these degrees of freedom. And then, especially with Tesla, you had this advantage of you had millions and millions of hours of human demo data collected from just the car being out there, where you can't equivalently just deploy Optimuses that don't work and then get the data that way. So between the increased degrees of freedom and the far sparser data,
yes. That's a good point.
How will you use the sort of Tesla engine of intelligence to train the Optimus mind?
No, you're highlighting an important limitation and difference between cars. It's like we'll soon have 10 million cars on the road, and so it's hard to duplicate that massive training flywheel. For the robot, what we're going to need to do is build a lot of robots and put them in kind of like an Optimus Academy, so they can do self-play in reality. So we're actually bulling that out. So we're going to have at least 10,000 Optimus robots, maybe 20 or 30,000 that can do that are doing self-play and testing different tasks.
This is a big insight for Tesla investors. Optimus Academy, 10,000, maybe 20 to 30,000 Optimus robots engaged in self-play. Not that kind, you sick fucks. So let's actually just do some real rough numbers here. On the low end, let's say 10,000 Optimus robots, not in commercial use, but simply in the real world, much like a baby, infant, toddler, learning how to interact with objects, move its limbs, hands, and so on. Let's say on the low end, it's probably going to be more than this initially, but let's say it costs $100,000 for each of these robots. If Tesla manufactures 10,000 of them, that's $1 billion of capital expenditure. 30,000 robots on the high end, $100,000 a pop, $3 billion, easy numbers. But I suspect initially at least, the cost for Tesla producing these early Optimus robots was likely to be much closer to the initial Model S back in 2012, maybe even higher. Could be, call it $150,000. In that case, the high end, 30,000 times 150,000, $4.5 billion. Now, the reason I mention this, Tesla's got a mountain of cash. That would be roughly 10% of their pile of cash and investments. Not a big deal. However, what if you're a humanoid robot startup? You're not Tesla. You don't have about $45 billion just sitting around. How are you going to teach your humanoid robots? Build out your own humanoid robot self-play academy. Something to ponder.
And then the Tesla has quite a good reality generator, like a physics-accurate reality generator that we made this for the cars. We'll do the same thing for the robots, and actually have done that for the robots. So you have a few tens of thousands of humanoid robots doing different tasks, and then you can do millions of simulated robots in the simulated world, and you use the the tens of thousands of robots in the real world to close the simulation to reality gap, close the sim to real gap.
How do you think about the synergies between XAI and Optimus, given you were highlighting, look, you need this world model, you maybe want to use some really smart intelligence as the control plane, and so maybe Grok is like doing the slower planning, and then like the motor policy is a little lower level. Yeah, what will the sort of synergy between these things be?
Yeah, so Grok would orchestrate the behavior of the Optimus robots. So let's say you wanted to build a factory. Then Grok could organize the Optimus robots, assign them tasks to build the factory to produce whatever you want.
Don't you need to merge XAI and Tesla then? Because these things end up so...
What were we saying earlier about public company discussions?
Well, we're one more Guinness in, Elon.
So I've got to stop there. Earlier in the podcast, these guys were poking and prodding Elon about SpaceX, IPO, blah, blah, blah. And Musk essentially says, look, I'll get myself in trouble if I talk about anything to do with a company that may or may not be going public. So I can't really, ask a different question. Here we have the suggestion about potentially merging XAI, which technically XAI now also includes SpaceX and X, the X platform, formerly Twitter. Potentially merging SpaceX with Tesla, specifically for the XAI related stuff. They earlier made some jokes about Musk would need to have had a lot more Guinnesses before he starts spilling the beans on the podcast. And once again, he kind of has to be a little bit evasive. So make of this interaction what you will. In my opinion, it's not a matter of if, but when this union happens. It's inevitable. In fact, I recently posted a video exclusively on Patreon explaining how I think this is most likely to play out, e.g. the scenario with the highest likelihood of success. Also, if you're the lesser likely scenarios, if you're on Patreon already, you'll know where to find it. Latest video. If not, you can join Patreon with the link in the pinned comment. Check it out. Now, I'm just going to rewind a sec just to replay this interaction. You guys can be the judge of whether or not you think that this is an inevitable outcome or just wild speculation. In fact, maybe it's an idea that Elon hasn't even considered. Pay attention to Musk's response.
Don't you need to merge XAI and Tesla then? Because these things end up so...
What were we saying earlier about public company discussions?
Well, we're one more Guinness in, Elon. What are you waiting to see before you say, we want to manufacture 100,000 Optimuses? Is it like...
Optimi. Since we're defining the proper noun, we could define the plural of the proper noun too. So we're going to proper noun the plural, and so it's optimi.
Okay. Is there something on the hardware side you want to see? Do you want to see better actuators, or is it just you want the software to be better? What are we waiting for before we get like mass manufacturing of Gen 3?
No, we're moving towards that. Like we're going forward with mass manufacturing.
But you think current hardware is good enough that you just want to deploy as many as possible now?
I mean, it's very hard to scale up production. But I think Optimus 3 is the right version of the robot to produce maybe something on the order of like 1 million units a year. I think you'd want to go to Optimus 4 before you went to 10 million units a year.
Okay, but you can do 1 million a year at Optimus 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to spool up manufacturing.
Yes.
So like manufacturing, like the output per unit time always follows an S-curve. So it starts off agonizingly slow, then it has this sort of exponential increase, then a linear, then a logarithmic outcome till you sort of eventually asymptote at some number. But Optimus initial production will be it's going to be a stretched out S-curve because so much of what goes into Optimus is brand new. There's not an existing supply chain. As I mentioned, the actuators, electronics, everything in the Optimus robot is designed from physics first principles. It's not taken from a catalog. These are custom designed everything, literally everything. I don't think there's a single thing that.
How far down does that go?
I mean, I guess we're not making custom capacitors yet, maybe, but there's nothing you can pick out of a catalog at any price. So it just means that the Optimus S curve, the units per output per unit time, how many Optimus robots do you make per day, whatever is going to initially ramp slower than a product where you have an existing supply chain. But it will get to 1 million.
When you see these Chinese humanoids, like Unity or whatever, sell humanoids for like 6K or 13K, do you just are you hoping to get your Optimus's bill of materials below that price so you can do the same thing, or do you just think qualitatively they're not the same thing? Like, what do you think is going? Like, what allows them to sell for so low, and can we match that?
Well, our Optimus is designed to have a lot of intelligence and to have the same electromechanical dexterity, if not higher than a human. So Unitree does not have that, and it's also, I mean, it's quite a big robot. It has to do carry heavy objects for long periods of time and not overheat or exceed the power of its actuators. So we've got it's 5'11", so it's pretty tall, and it's got a lot of intelligence. So it's going to be more expensive than a small robot that is not intelligent,
but more capable.
Yeah, but not a lot more. I mean, like the thing is, over time, as Optimus robots build Optimus robots, the cost will drop very quickly.
And what will these first billion Optimi do? Like, what will their highest and best use be?
I think that you would start off with simple tasks that you can count on them doing well.
But in the home or in factories, like
the best use for robots in the beginning will be any continuous operation, so any 24/7 operation, because they can work continuously.
Yeah. What fraction of the work at a gigafactory that is currently done by humans could a Gen 3 do?
I'm not sure. Maybe it's like 10-20%. Maybe more. I don't know. It's we would not like reduce our headcount. We would for sure increase our headcount, to be clear.
Right.
But we would increase our output. So the units produced per human, like total number of humans at Tesla will increase, but the output of robots and cars will increase disproportionate, like much to. Number of cars and robots produced per human will increase dramatically, but number of humans will increase as well.
Some really awesome insights from this podcast. One of the best I've ever seen with Musk. Two guys with relatively large brains, plenty of technical knowledge, asking good and novel questions, resulting in some unique and novel insights, including the biggest of all, Tesla's Robot Academy, or as Musk called it, the Optimus Academy, where Tesla intends on deploying 10, 20, maybe 30,000 Optimus humanoid robots to engage in self-play and learn how to interact in the real world, move their bodies, hands, you name it. Nail a bunch of tasks, bridge the gap between real world and simulated data. And my favorite moment, of course, is, well, shouldn't XAI merge with Tesla? To which Elon Musk had to say, bro, I can't really say much about that. Moving on. A couple of key takeaways. Again, for Tesla investors, all eyes should be focused on the hand of the Optimus humanoid robot. This is where we want to see the most progress, the most capability. And some questions as a Tesla investor or potential investor in any companies trying to manufacture lots of useful humanoid robots at scale. Some questions you might want to ask yourself. Who else built the majority of the brain, particularly the visual cortex, via a fleet of millions of vehicles attempting to solve autonomy? By the way, the answer to that question is it's just Tesla, soon to have 10 million vehicles on roads. This counts for a lot. Who else has designed their robot? From the atoms up, the electric motors, the actuators, everything. Who else has expertise and experience in manufacturing millions of complicated objects every year? Objects that, funnily enough, contain many of the same components, including batteries and FSD computer. Of course, if Tesla's the only company seriously pursuing humanoid robots that also simultaneously has the expertise and experience manufacturing millions of objects per year, they're inevitably going to have a massive cost advantage due to the scale, a massive speed advantage due to their past experience, meaning they'll ultimately have a massive scale advantage. And the other question you'd probably want to ask yourself is, who else, what other companies can afford to spend many billions of dollars, potentially, building a robot academy so they can self-play and really nail their skills? The answers to these questions should tell you just about everything you need to know. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 has been part of my daily health protocol for almost half a decade. It's packed full of vitamins and minerals and helps me fill in nutritional gaps while supporting energy, digestion, and immune function. It also has prebiotics and probiotics to promote gut health. I take my health very seriously, and so should you. Try AG1 today by visiting drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment and enjoy a free welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2 and AG1 travel packs. That's drinkag1.com/SMR.